everyone. If you're just joining us, hi. This is our 24-hour World Sickle Cell Day. Right now, it is Ade and myself as your co-host. And can you believe it? We are coming up on being one third, being on for at least one third from midnight to 8 a.m. And it's been a pleasure. Let us know where you're from. Okay.
Hello, once again. My name is Jamie Bush and from the UK. There's some people I recognize here. Hello, Ari. I'm an advocate. I've been for over 17 years now. Started with advocating about sickle cell while in the Gambia, and then found myself in the UK in 2019. And I was shocked to realize I still had to advocate. So that's what I'm still doing. So today, because already 5 minutes past one here, my session is to talk about pain, really having a real conversation about pain, how we manage it, what strategies are out there. So that's what I want to talk about, and I have the tech team here to help me do that. Uh, I hope together we will find solutions that will work for everybody living with sickle cell everywhere. So thank you. Happy to be here. Can I have my slides, please? Or shall I just go on? So I can't see my slides, so I'll just go on with what I've prepared. So when
You
we
say
talk
you don't
about,
see your slides because they're sharing on the screen.
oh yeah, thank you. Seeing it now, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So for me, when we talk about global action and local impact, it's really talking about how we close those bridges, how we build those bridges and close those gaps, because I've been living with sickle cell for about 40 years now, and what I've realized, being lucky to live in two different countries, I can say it, a tale of two continents, in Africa, first in the Gambia, now in the UK, is that there are gaps when it comes to pain management strategies and therapies and how people can access that. And this, I think, over the years, especially when I came to UK, it's what has really directed my advocacy is to how to close that gap, because you realize in Africa, where the continent, the sickle cell brunt is 85%, what we have in other parts of the world we can't have. Like, if I take you back to my own story of trying to access pain while in hospital, in the Gambia, it will be me being scared of being put on a too high a pain medication, because what nurses would rather put you to sleep so they don't have to deal with you calling them all the time when pain comes. And then I come to the UK, it's a different story. You really have to advocate so much to get pain medication. And sometimes it has to do with a bit of bias, people thinking you're seeking uh, pain, maybe you're addicted. But sometimes you find the UK story is that of not so much is known about sickle cell, because until recently, sickle cell was seen as something as a disease from migrants. But we will come to that later. So until recently, there has not been no research, and um, you go to the nurses you meet, the doctors, they just don't know what to do. And that's what I've been finding. And then if you listen to, because of my advocacy, I've been able to still pay attention to what's happening outside. In the US, we know of the main thing there will be how people are denied pain medication, because, biases will come in play and people are called like addicts. You go back to Africa, in a place like Uganda, where people in pain crisis going to hospital trying to get medication can't have medication until they have to give into sexual favors to get that. So those are the gaps, I think, when we talk about global action and local impact, is how do we close that, and how through that we can help communities to self-advocate. That's what really the discussion is about for this session. Next slide, please. So, but before we go there, I'll ask you a few questions just to know, in kind of to support what I've said, or but like in every country there'll be barriers that are different. Like in my own story in the UK, when I came from one country to the other, how you can access sickle cell pain medication or just sickle cell care in general varies. So while I was doing my master's in another part of the UK, I had a card that when I was in crisis and I needed emergency hospitalization, all I needed to do was to show that card, and I'll have everything I need. It has a list of my medication, which one to start on and which one to end to. But you come to another side of UK. Now I don't have that card. The last time I was in emergency, I had to sit in emergency in pain for 4 hours after having told the nurses that my pain feels like a chest crisis, that I might die, but I was just asked to go and sit back and wait in the queue. So those are the stories, and that is why we will. Part of doing this session is really trying to hear from you, is interactive, so that we know where the gaps are and what we can do, like at a forum like that, like this, at a global level, but ensuring that it's having local impacts where we all come from. So this question, the question that comes to mind is, what has been your experience with accessing pain medication, pain relief? Have you ever felt judged or dismissed with pain treatment? How does stigma affect your care? Those are the questions we have. I can see people writing in the chat, but I would need help to access the chat because I'm using my phone. It's just better network. Um, sorry. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, are there any questions,
Yes, we
comments in
can
the
hear.
chat?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I'm looking now. Sorry, I couldn't unmute. I'm looking now, and I do not see any comments yet.
Okay. Hello, KW. So what have been your experiences where you all are when trying to access pain, to get that needed pain relief, whatever crisis you're having, whatever your pain will have at the moment? What have been your experience? Has it been smooth sailing or did you have to advocate? What has been your experience?
Um,
Have you?
and before you guys answer that, so we do have a live word cloud that's happening right now, so you can actually put that information in the word cloud. So I just put it in the chat. The link is in the chat.
Okay, great.
If you guys
Yes.
would like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, let's definitely do that in Boji. Um, I like the question that you're asking, and it'd be nice for people to put them in the word cloud so that you can see all of the responses. So I'm gonna go, is it the first one or the second one? I see two.
What, the first question?
Let me do it again. Okay, there we
I
go.
see I see two. Okay. So do me a favor, dear, and repeat the question so that all of us can actually participate. So I'm going to click the link.
Yes, so I've been sharing a bit about my experiences with accessing pain, especially in hospital. Drawing from my experience back home in the Gambia and now in the UK, and just wanted to ask if this is a similar experience or is different, because we know even in the same country, like it's my experience in the UK, where you are, which part of your country, the country you are, can determine how you can access that pain. So just to share what has been that experience for you, so we see, because really to create the local impact with one through global action such as this, we have to know where the gaps are and close those gaps. I think that will be what we do as global advocates. So that's the question. What has been your experience of accessing pain medication or pain relief in general?
Okay, so I can't find so the second one I see, what has been your experience with accessing pain relief? So if everyone can put their word in.
Yeah. So while we do that, we just want to say that what we're doing here is try to raise awareness and empower ourselves to be able to advocate even more for ourselves, for our community. Whatever we share here will be based from lived experience. It's not something we're hoping you hold on to, refuse it, maybe doctor advice like this is what I had. It's just perhaps as an alternative. These are the things you can try because somebody else tried it, it worked, but we're not saying this is what you have to do. It's what have worked or our experience that we are sharing, and we hope that helps as you move forward with your advocacy or whatever arm of the sickle cell community you are, to help you support someone if that's your role as a caregiver. So just wanted to say that as a disclaimer. And while accessing that pain relief, have you ever felt judged? Have you ever felt judged, dismissed? You know, people thinking you're faking your pain just because you want opioids? Have you ever felt judged? Or do you even refuse going to get pain medication if you have to go to the hospital because you're worried about judgment? Is there some stigma? Those are the things we will be good to think around and we see, because we really want to see where the gaps are, how every country is different, but even different communities in the same country, and really close that gap. So I cannot see the word gap because I'm on my phone. It has better network. But if we have some thoughts put in on the cloud, we can move on so that it's a 45-minute session and we have a bit to cover, if that's
Okay.
all right with you.
Yes.
Thank you. So yeah, if we go back to my second slide, you see, I was trying to say what the UK story is. At least for me, that's
Looks like you muted yourself.
Can you hear me?
No, she muted herself. There she go.
Oh,
oh,
okay.
I didn't realize. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Until a few years ago, sickle cell in the UK has been considered as a disease from the migrants. That people who come here are the ones that bring in sickle cell. So that means for government, it was not value for money for them to put into understanding sickle cell, because it's not our people after all, it's people that come. This has been my experience. I had gone to my GP in a place that is really diverse in Leeds. I live in Leeds in the UK. And really, my GP couldn't do anything for me other than telling me, oh, you're almost 40, and these are the kind of things you might be affected by because you are Black. But I went to complain about a swollen knee related to my sickle cell. And then when I had leg ulcer about 3 years ago, I had to really advocate for myself to say that this is not any simple leg ulcer. It's a sickle cell leg ulcer. So I need urgent care at this moment. But I was told, well, our specialist would care specialists. It's a long, long queue, and we don't even know if you will get to them. So I had to, because the pain was just, it got to a place, those who have leg ulcer will know it's chronic pain, is daily. It got to a place my mental health was being affected. I had to go to a private hospital. That was the only way. And the moment I went to a private hospital, the moment I saw a doctor, the very next day I was able to have an appointment to see a specialist wound care. So it has moved, but recently, as research is showing, and we are realizing that here in the UK now, sickle cell is the fastest growing genetic disorder. We have seen in the last couple of years, research is coming up, and there's this understanding, at least at the health department, that this is something they have to pay attention to, especially as science and the genetic side of it is getting more advanced. They realize sickle cell is not something they can ignore, because it's really not a matter of color, it's a matter of blood. It's a blood disorder, and everybody has blood. So this has been, so it's changing. But because I came in 2019, coming from Africa, most of us, because of all the narrative we are sold, we believe if you come to the West, you come to the UK, you go to America, maybe suddenly you won't have to advocate so much. Suddenly everything will be easy with your health. But it's so different. And that was so shocking for me. I realized even here, I had to advocate. So what we did was then was I joined a group of global advocates, and that's how Soldiers Be was born, which is our sickle cell lifestyle magazine. Today on June 19, we just published our sixth edition, featuring another outstanding warrior, Ade, she just spoke. So those are the kind of thing, and we aim through that to tell our story, but also to show that sickle cell is not just really sickle cell, it's everything else, that we live full lives like everybody else. And that's really our response to what's happening. So we, in doing that, we pick stories from around the world, but future people from warriors from around the world and say, actually, this is our life, but this is how also you want to be supported. So that was my response in terms of advocacy, which takes me to the other bit, and you can continue using your word cloud, or you can just put it in the chat. So what has been your experience with that? How did you have to advocate with the things you put out, with the barriers you put in, you faced in trying to access pain, pain treatment, pain relief? So what has been your response to that? Or how do you think we can move advocacy forward in accessing pain relief, so that, we know how sickle cell pain can be. Sometimes it's fatal. So we need help when we need it. That's another question. Shall I repeat it? Oh, in the chat, Anne Chantel, our managing editor, just paste the link of Soldiers Be, the recent issue, which is out today if you want to have a look. So that's our UK example. If you want to share your example wherever you are, from the world, from Cameroon, from the Gambia, from US, I know we have people join from everywhere, from around the world. Please tell us what has been your experience in your particular country. And are there systematic barriers, do you think? Are there biases in the system? Like I just explained, for me, the bias was, well, it was how I looked. How I looked immediately, it was confirmed that I'm not from the UK. Yes, yet I was born in the UK, and I was told, and this is not me joking, it's a direct quote, well, we cannot do anything for you. Sickle cell is something people like you bring in. So what has been your experience? Do you think there are disparities in care if you go to emergency rooms? Disparity in cares. I think for me, based on where you are, I did explain this, even if it's in the same country, it depends on what management, or perhaps sometimes it has to deal with, because at that time I was a student, so perhaps there was not that question of whether I was entitled to care in the NHS, which is the National Health Service. But now, because I'm not a student, and I'm working as a coach, but that's private because I was an unpaid carer. So for that period, I was termed as somebody unemployed. So there was always a question of whether I have access to the NHS. So of course, it's somebody who came wanting to use the NHS. And so if we cannot help you, we can't help you. There's no need to go above and beyond. Did you experience anything like that? So what strategies have you been using to advocate for yourself?
Hello, everybody. As she's going through these things, if you look on the screen, you will see that the questions are popping up on the screen. To answer those questions, click the link in the chat. It has menti.com. That link is the link that you want to click to join the word cloud, and those answers will begin to pop up on the screen. Click that link in the chat, and you can answer those questions that she is referring to, that she's talking about, and it'll pull the answers up on the screen.
Thank you. If you need any help, any support, just let us know. The tech team are here to support us through this.
Make sure you enter in the code so that you can actually put in your words.
As you think about the questions I raised, vis-a-vis my own story, think about your own story. Was there a time you had to better advocate for yourself to access the pain relief you need? That could be, the difference between life and death when it's sickle cell, because it can be a chest crisis that arrests your lungs and you cannot get in air to breathe, or it can be something else chronic, slowly eating at you, and before you know it, you're no more. So how have you, is there has been a time you have thought, okay, maybe this is what I can do instead to better advocate for myself? What advice will you give to someone else?
Again, if you're having problems, please let us know. We see some answers popping up. There it is. The next question is, what advice would you give to someone who feels unheard? Click that link in the chat and put in the code to put in your answers. We do see, oh, there we go. Let your voice be
Thank
heard.
you.
Don't give up.
Thank you.
Yes, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Advocacy is key. Speaking up in anywhere, everywhere you can, together with the global advocates that are on Soldiers Be, we have all our own different type of advocacy, whether it's using fashion like Ari would do, or really just speaking out everywhere and anywhere like Anne Chantel will do. We have been doing that. And we thought, why don't we back it up with text advocacy so that those who prefer reading also get the message we're trying to say? So we will come to all those alternatives. Thank you so much. But now we are looking at how to advocate. Are there better ways to advocate? What would you recommend to somebody else? And then we will look at the alternatives. Perhaps we should go to that now. Can we go to my third slide, please? Thank you. So really, when we think of alternatives, we know there are a lot there. But I like this famous quote from the Bible, but one of my colleagues will really recommend this every time. You have to know yourself, but also know where you are, because every place is different. The continent you are in matters, the country you are in matters, even the side of the country you are in matters. Something Bieber will talk about, the prison cages where you might have to move your location just to access pain medication or even sickle cell care in general. So it's to know yourself. And how do you know yourself? Sickle cell comes with pain, we know that. So then it's understanding your kind of pain. How is your sickle cell pain like? What are your triggers? But also, when you, in terms of pain relief, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So I lost my child just about 7 months now. And since like 3 months ago, I've been having chronic headache and fatigue. And by March this year, my body just couldn't take it no more. So I collapsed with sickle cell crisis. But what that did was that slowed me down, because once the 40 days was over with my child, the burial has done and everything. I'm a Muslim, so we really bury our dead as soon as we can, really, because that's what we believe, that once somebody die, they belong to their Lord. So just after the 40 days in January, I picked up work and picked up everything else I couldn't do, really strengthening my advocacy or building on my course creation business and my coaching, and took on work, in-person work that I couldn't do so long because I had to stay home to take care of my child. In March, I broke down my sickle cell crisis. And because that helped me slow down, because my body was telling me that I just needed to slow down, that's when really my body started feeling the effects of the grief, the loss of my child. And so I started having these headaches and fatigue. But then I went to hospital. I was told it has nothing to do with my sickle cell. And as I was thinking about this topic, I'm like, shouldn't we think beyond sickle cell pain? Why it's very important. It's just everything else is related. Because chronic headaches and fatigues, what it has been doing to me is really been affecting my mood, and it's making me stressed even more. We know stress can be a trigger for so many things in sickle cell. So then understanding your body, but understanding what's going on. Also understanding, for instance, what your body is trying to tell me. Like I just say I need a rest. Sometimes when I have my sickle cell crisis, I really don't need any pain medication. And that's why thinking about alternatives or what your body is trying to tell you is important. Sometimes all it's trying to say with my yellow eyes when I have jaundice, just to drink some more water, rest a bit, and maybe go for a walk. So it's perhaps because the gap is so wide sometimes. It's not only about location but also about cost. And so you have to think about, especially in Africa, we know most people, even here, we might have some people living with disability, if you want to consider sickle cell as a disability, which it can sometimes be. The cost of living is just higher for people living with a disability, almost £1,000 more in the UK. So which means if we take that back to Africa and see people's earning capacity, if for every time you have a sickle cell pain crisis, you want to go straight onto medication that you have to buy, how feasible is that? And that's why your location matter where you are. Also there's this thing about most countries, at least I know for Africa, we know we have pharmacists just because how the setup are. They don't go through the light channels to have their pharmacists. We have, so there, if you really want to get cheap medication, because perhaps that's what you can afford, the problem is they have not gone through the light testing stages to be safe for you. And so that is why we have to begin to think about what works for you, what other things are there. In Africa, we have, our land is very fertile, with vegetation very rich. So what foods are there that you can have access to, for instance? For instance, moringa, which we know is very good. It's good for inflammation. We know chamomile, for instance, is good for relaxation. And sometimes that's all we need. Because now, here we are talking about CBDs, the cannabis we can use to help with pain and all of that. But then when we are talking about global impact, global action and local impact, is how then can we make sure what we have here, we can have there? As we are working on closing those gaps, it's meanwhile to think of what we have that we can use at the moment. So knowing yourself, knowing what your body is telling you. So then we move forward to the word cloud. You've already been suggesting alternatives, and I can see in the chat people talking about hydration. Uh, for me, it's massage sometimes. Can we please go back to the word cloud? It seems people are putting in the chat. Like I said, sometimes just going out in nature, because perhaps you're just not having enough oxygen where you are. Those are simple, low cost, and they are safe. There are massage oils. A bath can help sometimes, because if it's about circulation. So you have to ask, is it circulation? Is it because I'm not resting as much? Or is it because I'm not drinking? What could it be? Try all those options first and see. And then you have to go back. You have to have a line of care if you want, and you have like first line, second line. So if you agree that your first line And why I've been thinking about that, because with my headaches, I've been given this medication. What it has done is, while it's helped my headache, it's making me even more tired. So I'm like, what if medication was not my first line? Yes, thank you so much for putting in alternatives. So in the chat, you can see people talking about food. Yes, AW, hot water therapy, hydration, mild painkillers, of course. So if you're like, my first line will be try no medication at all. I'll see what I have with me now to see if that helps. And also we will get to that no two-person at the same. Perhaps moringa might help somebody, but it might not help you. So it's knowing what, and of course dose. And sometimes that's often the problem when it comes to our herbal medicines as well. Things we can use orally, is how much is enough. So, but it's understanding who you are, your body, but also your environment. So food is a good one. Hydration, massage, baths. So then you have, like I said, in other parts of the world, there's uh, CBD, which can be at a low dose. It might not have the component, the is it TBC that makes you high, but it can help you relax. But depending on the sickle cell pain, you might need the higher dose, and the higher dose, then if you can't have it free, how much will that cost? Like in Africa, only 2 countries in Africa have access to the CBD, which is Ghana and South Africa. So what about every other country? What about Nigeria, where we have a high prevalence rate of sickle cell? What about those places? What about Uganda? Yeah. So hydration, is that no hot water therapy? Well, not very hot water therapy. Warm water can sometimes help, at least for me, especially when it's winter here. I can't do cold water. In fact, I cannot remember the last time I had a cold water bath. So everybody is different. That's why knowing yourself is very, very important. So we've mentioned the alternative pain management strategies you've tried. And has anybody used CBD as a pain relief? Just want to share a bit of your experience. Have you? How was getting that? Was it easy to access? How do you use it responsibly? Because like we say, if you're going to use this, you want to make sure it's safe, so you get it through the hospital. But it's cannabis. People using cannabis as a pain relief. I know in America, I'm not sure if it's in the UK, maybe it is, but UK, what happens is, with whatever level of treatment, including pain, there's always an escalation process. So it's like, until you need it, sometimes you don't even know it's available, whether it's pain relief or whether it's treatment. Until you need it, most times you don't know it's available. It's because, the work is mostly on trying to cut costs as much as possible. And that is why advocacy, but learning more about sickle cell and what's available out there, so that when you go to advocate for yourself, you can tell your doctor or you can tell your health team, this is what is happening out there. How can we have it here? That was my question when I moved to Leeds and realized, sickle cell management was better in another part of the UK and not here. Why? So I asked, why can't I have what I was having there? But I was told, well, they didn't see value because people have not been using like the pads, or to use in emergency for quick access to the pain relief they need. I'm just looking in the chat. And KW says pain is categorized by my body, normal, home, hospital types. So you do preventative intervention. Ginger, he says, works. Ginger is good. You just invested in CBD. How was that? How was that, KW? Was that easy to access? And how have you been using it responsibly? Sleep step therapy. Is it sleep or step therapy? I'm not sure I know what that is. Maybe if you can tell us a bit more about that. I know sleep is good. Well, healthy sleep, which works for you, is good. Not oversleeping. But yeah, sleep is good because then you're in a relaxation state. When you get up, you're ready then to start the day. It resets everything for your body. So at this point, we'll go and see what we have on the word clouds. What results came up for us? What are you saying? We want to hear from you. Can we please go? Yeah, the word cloud is here.
So did you want to start from the it's on your screen.
Yes, so I see hydration is a big one. I
Mhm.
just don't understand what no means. Can somebody clarify? Is it no what hot water therapy you're saying
So
here?
they're saying no to has anyone used CBD
D.
responsibly? So the answer to
They're
that question,
saying no.
somebody put no.
Oh, nobody. So, but people have access to it. KW said he just invested in it. Have you received that yet? Have you tried it?
Oh,
He says
So,
well,
he hasn't used it yet.
oh, he hasn't used it yet. But
Mm-hmm.
hydration is a good one. So we can all agree that hydration, drinking up water as much as you can really, because what 70 to 80% of the blood is water. So you need that. Also, we know sometimes you have sickle cell crisis because your red cells have stopped somewhere and they are not moving. So having the water will help with your circulation as well. So helps with anemia if you're dealing with fatigue. What else came up on the word cloud? All I can see is hydration, hot water therapy, never use cold, never use CBD. Anything else? Or is it in the chat?
No, that's all for that particular word cloud. Somebody just put in, I am scared to use CBD. So
Yeah, depending on where you are and if you can access it, you can really get it the right way. You can get it through the hospital where you are checked and you can be started off on the low dose and then you can go on top a bit if that's what you need. But then of course I think like hydrox, which why not a pain medication, but that regular checking that it's working with you, with your sickle cell, but with your system will be what happens. I know for some countries, like in South Africa and Ghana, they're just giving up to, I think, 20 mg. So you cannot have more than that. So if you had severe sickle cell pain crisis where now it's being associated to cancer pain and you need something more, something that includes the elder level, which is not just the clean, neat CBD, then you might not be able to have it in other countries. So like that's why location matters. So where are you? Can you get it safely will be the question. And if you can get it safely and other things you have been trying haven't worked, or perhaps now this is really severe pain for you and nothing else will work but that, then it's good to explore it. And that's why it's really good. I believe in knowing what's available out there and see what options you could have back where you are. Even if you can, just knowing it's there means if perhaps you move, then it's something you could ask for.
well,
So
I wanted to say that someone did ask, what is CBD?
yes, so I did explain it's like cannabis now used as for medicinal purposes for pain because it's seen research has shown it's useful because it helps with relaxation and pain. So you can have the new CBD, which doesn't have the component that perhaps make you high, if you want to put it like that, or you can have that. But then it depends on where you are, what location. Like I said, here in the UK, even things are available. I don't know whether it's available here or not. It's always based on an escalation as a patient. Like, there's always the consideration of whether you need that or perhaps what you're using now, it's working for you before they can escalate to that. But there's no harm in asking about it if you feel the pain medications you are using now or the alternatives you're trying now is really not working, or it might work for your mild to moderate pain but not your severe pain, then it's something you could ask about. And through the hospital, that is really what I think we will advocate for, because there we know it can be checked, and monitored, so it's safe for you as well.
Okay.
So that's about it as we come to the end of this panel just want to hear more about what your experiences has been, what alternatives would you recommend, and but my last slides just say to know that no two people with the same genes, whether it's SS or something else, are the same when it comes to pain tolerance. And so knowing that, even if you're from the same family, your own threshold of pain and how well you can tolerate it might be different from somebody else. So that's why knowing yourself, your triggers, but how you can move from one line to the other, how you can think of, okay, let's start off with non-medicinal remedies or alternatives and see where that takes me. But also is knowing, where your limit is, where you can no longer self-manage, to where then you need to go to hospital to get that, So, but as we do this at a global level, is hopefully the impact is when we go to hospitals, then in pain, we will not have to then be advocating while we're still in pain. That will be the aim. So, any question, comments? I think my time's almost up, so we have about 5 minutes now.
Okay.
So there's a question. How do cultural regional beliefs shape your approach to pain? How do your cultural or religious belief shape your approach to pain? Could the culture of perhaps having to be brave? I think Obi from Nigeria was talking about that in the men's session. How as the man you have to be really strong. If you're in pain, no matter how severe, then it's something then you can't say. So on the cloud, it has resolute adamant. Yes. Does your culture or religious belief shape your approach to pain? Or does it make you freely express pain, or because of that, does it bring any shame, or does you feel you always have to be strong? Do you feel you always have to be strong? Which brings to mind, and this when we talk about the use of language and sickle cell, the term warrior, while we understand why we have it, because most people don't want to be called sicklers, because, well, cancer patients are not called cancerians or something. Does the term warrior also come into play when you think about pain? You're like, well, I'm a warrior, I have to be strong through this. So I'm not going to try anything. Well, I'm just going to stay here. After all, I'm a warrior. Cool, those things as well. But your culture, you just believe your faith carries me. You have to be strong. This thinking of you have to be strong, is that shaped by culture or religion, or it's just something you believe, like that comes really with the resilience of people living with sickle cell? Trooper. Yes, Keda will say trooper versus a warrior. So I ignore them. What do? You ignore the pain? Why do you ignore pain? Is that a cultural belief, a religious belief, or why would you ignore pain? Why do you feel that's the right thing to do with pain and pain management? Warriors treat and bind their wounds. True, Obi, yes. So even as a warrior, you should take care of that pain, because that pain really could make the difference. It could be the difference of you staying alive or you really not being here anymore. That's how serious sickle cell pain can be. But it's then knowing, for instance, what's mild pain for you, what's moderate, what's severe, what's something that you can no longer take care of at home. You must stay alive by treating yourself. So as those thoughts shaped by your religion or your culture, where does it come from? I think that's the question here. Yeah. Thank you too. So anything else? Is that all? Oh yes, distraction tools. What distraction tools come to mind? For me, my favorite has been writing poems. It's really one thing that got me through my leg ulcer. That was really very, very hard, because I think it's through the leg ulcer that I really know what chronic pain is with sickle cell. Because if we want, we can really lump our pain, different types of pain, into acute and chronic pain. But having that for like 2 years, and I still had to care for my child, single parenting, my child with complex needs, that was, yeah, I almost lost my mind. So it's really writing poems for me and joining other groups. Of course, it was a poetry group, but another one that's a disability inclusion group where I could go and speak freely and not worry about being judged. That really helped. So, what have been your distraction techniques? And here, when we talk of distraction, really, we're thinking of healthy distractions, you know, like even when we talk about CBD, we would recommend like smoking or anything because it can be smoked or inhaled or used in other way, used in food. What has been your biggest challenge in managing pain? So ignoring pain does make it worse. Yes, because then it's on your mind. Your mind will not let you rest. The more you want to ignore it, the more it's prominent. But what have been your biggest challenge now in managing pain? Has it? What has been your biggest challenge?
So don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, the link to put your answers in the word cloud is in the chat. It is in the chat, and you're going to put that code at the top where it says use vote code, and you can answer these questions that she's talking about. It is in the chat. The website has menti.com. Menti.com. There we go. What's been your biggest challenge in managing pain? Somebody said
My
myself.
access, my
Wow.
illness. That's interesting. So when we say myself, how could it be the beliefs you have about pain? That has been the challenge. Pain changes every decade. That is true. Or perhaps you come across another complication of sickle cell that perhaps all you did was hear about it, like me with leg ulcer, until you have you're like, wow. So sometimes what will work for when you have acute pain, like you have a crisis, uh, a vaso-occlusive crisis will be different than to how you manage something like a leg ulcer. Money to get pain medicine. Yeah. If you are paying for your pain medication, that could be access. I know the association we have back home, one of the things we support our members with will be access to pain medication. Difficult to sleep, insomnia. Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that. The doctors, yeah, the nurses, healthcare personnel. And what's that? Is it biases? Is it judgment, or is it just like what you will find most times here? Doctors and nurses not understanding what sickle cell is. Money, pain changes, yeah, every decade. So somebody was talking about getting support or your support system in the chat. Like how do you get to ER when you're in pain? And this is why it's important to have a circle around you. Just knowing there will be somebody to advocate for you when you need it, especially if you're living alone. And joining sickle cell communities where you are is very important. So when you are not well and you can't advocate for yourself, somebody will advocate for you. That is really, really important because sometimes we have a lot of cases here where patients will say, if I feel my pain is getting to a level, and that is here in the UK, that I can't manage at home, I would rather try and get a taxi, go to the hospital myself rather than try to go with an ambulance because sometimes they just never come. I don't know whether it has to do with the fact that sickle cell is not classified as a disability, because when I called as a carer for my child, epilepsy is immediately a disability. So I'm taking seriously even more than when I call for me with my sickle cell pain. I'm almost expected to manage it home. Yes, for me. Have you and your loved one ever been denied proper pain medication? Yes. Oh, we have so many yeses and so many yeses. And this is what I've been talking about. Global action cannot be complete without local impact in different places around the world, especially in Africa where the percentage is 85%. So how do we close the gap? Yes, for all of 1 year, it takes too long. Even here in the UK, where it's getting better, it can take too long before you get pain. But we hear stories recently, earlier in this year, when we were having a Soldiers Be event, that a place like Uganda now, sickle cell patients, and also in other places has been reported at the point of crisis are asked sexual favors before they can get pain medication. Those are the stories we are hearing, and it's very, very shocking. Yes. What non-medication techniques have you used or seen? What non-medication techniques have you used or seen? That's the question now.
Okay, one moment. Let's see. Nothing's
That
popping.
could include your distraction techniques that help you relax and, just distract you from pain. Oh, relaxation with coloring, that's a nice one. Yeah. Prayer, yes, prayer is good. Intimacy. So you see, that's why love, people with sickle cell deserve love, if that's the kind of intimacy you mean. And when we again talk about gene compatibility, like we said, is trying to close that gap. If in other places, I don't have to worry so much about gene compatibility, why very important. But when it comes to my family life, I know I can have options because of where I am. How are we then as global advocates closing this gap? So the other places too, they can have access to such options rather than saying point blank, no, if your genotype are not compatible, there's no way for you. Love, forget about love. I think that's really a very sad approach in the 21st century. Music, making jewelry, mindful breathing. Wow, amazing. I will be relaxation, visual imagery. Yes. So these are all techniques that will not make you ignore the pain, but also helps you to not really just focus on the pain and then making you feel worse even more. So you have a healthy distraction that you like doing, and then you can almost forget the pain for a while.
I did.
How
I,
has stigma
I
or bias shown up in your experience? How has stigma
and I want
playing
to
your ukulele? Oh, wow.
and
Amazing.
I want to interject right now. I know that
Please.
we're a little bit over. And before you guys can answer the question, but can the tech team let me know if the through the pain is here?
I have the video ready.
You do okay. So how about we give it 3 more minutes, Mboji?
Yes, definitely. I was saying my time was over, but we are going to try that. Okay, just see.
Okay.
3 more minutes and we'll let you answer and then we'll wrap up now. Thank you so much for engaging and really keeping it interactive and sharing your experience. How has stigma or biases shown up in your experience? Does my experience sounds familiar or is yours really different? What have we not mentioned? Underdosing, that's the thing, yeah. Because of the bias that comes with, oh, they are just pain seeking. There's underdosing. What else? Yes, just being judged, mostly because people don't understand sickle cell or how bad the pain can be. Is there another one coming in? We are wrapping in a minute now.
Okay.
You were told by HR what? That's interesting because my background is HR. That they needed consistency. That is what with work. Again, not sickle cell not being understand and people, employers not knowing what adaptations you need and how they can empower you to work still, because we can really work. It's just if we have the right environment. How do you prepare for medical visits to ensure you are at? So preparation, How do you prepare for medical visits? Because we know that sometimes when we go and see our doctors, it's not always just seeing them. We have to make a point to be had. We have to. When I had my sickle cell, I had to say again and again, this is for me. Hydrox wasn't working for me, and that's what gave me leg ulcer. That's my experience. And I was telling my doctor, maybe I should try blood transfusion. I was refused until the leg also spread to my other leg. That's how I got to the red cell exchange. Now that's what I'm on. So when visiting your doctor, it's not just visiting advocacy. You take your notes, I take an advocate. Yes, please. If you cannot do it, perhaps you're going at a time when you're not feeling so well. Take an advocate with you. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been an interactive session. Thank you all. I'm not feeling so well, so I hope we all had something from this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, dear. I appreciate it.